Message for this morning is about playing with money. All right. And so, I can remember how when I was one time when I was a teenager, and someone we were at camp and waiting around, and someone said, "Oh, let's have fun with all this money," and they were throwing it, and I'm throwing it up in the air, and I'm like totally aghast and picking it all up, and it's like you don't play with money. This is serious stuff. You have to be careful. And what I did like was playing Monopoly. All right. And so when you play Monopoly, I love starting off, and I like to be the banker, hand it all out. And you've got lots of this beautifully colored money, and you like the 500s were the best, right? And you use it to strategically purchase your properties and hotels if you could, right? And then you pay and collect rent. That's always better. And hopefully you get to win the game, right? Not always, but and Colleen in her newsletter a column this week, she mentioned money Monopoly as well, and there were memories of rowdy, drawn-out Monopoly games with her brothers in the living room. It's something we remember very vividly. And now, my younger sister Allison was about 6 when she was started playing Monopoly with my dad and mom and I, and so one night we were playing, and Allison was just old enough to understand that when you were out of money, you were broke and you lost, right? And so that night, my mom was the first one to run out of money. Well, my sister was devastated. She started crying, and she said, "How could you be so mean to Mommy?" And she ran off to her room. This was just horrible. Horrible. She couldn't stand it. And so while she was out of the room, my mother sold her properties. She again had money in front of her. No properties, but she had money in front of her. And we convinced my sister to come back. And she saw, oh, Mom's got money. Everything is good. And we continued playing. I don't think we finished that game that night, but we didn't have a clear winner. But everyone was back in the room. Family game. But Monopoly is just a game, but no one really went bankrupt, and no one really took over the whole world's assets, right? And put everyone else bankrupt. In real life, though, the consequences of winning and losing the money game can promise lucrative rewards, or give us haunting fear of repeated failure after failure, right? We want to end up somewhere in between, but without all the fear. And so today we're going to talk about how can we move to a consciousness of lack to a consciousness of abundance, of always having enough, of being in that divine flow. Now, this month we're talking about living everyday wonder finances. And the first week we talked about God is all there is. The second week we talked about how we are one with God in the midst of that divine flow. And then today we're going to talk about how we use that divine flow, the divine creative power to co-create a life of prosperity and abundance, right? So the money, then the basic spiritual principle is that money is a divine idea of circulation in the human world. Last week we talked about how abundance is always flowing in the world. And if we're experiencing lack, it's not because there's a lack of abundance, because that's the divine intention, but it's because we have our foot on the hose, and if we want abundance, we have to take our foot off the hose and the flow starts again, all right? It's always there for us, and that's the natural, abundant flow. Swami Kriyananda, who is the Hindu religious leader who founded Ananda's retreat center with self-realization, he had something beautiful to say about abundance. To attract abundance in your life, see money as a flow of energy, not as a static quality. See life in the same way, as a flowing river, not as a fixed patterns of behavior. Leave your ego on the bank and enter the stream of cosmic awareness. There are no limits to how much of life's abundance can be yours if you plunge into the divine current and swim there joyously. Right? Swim there joyously. So from a spiritual viewpoint, money is the divine idea of sacred energy that is circulating in the human world. It's neither good nor bad. It's just a tool. It's not something evil to avoid or something to be worshipped. No. Instead, money is always flowing. We are always giving and receiving time and energy, ideas, money, action, and love. All of these divine things. But still, many people in the world have a consciousness that poverty is inescapable, especially for them, right? And we must be willing to let that divine flow into our lives and through our lives. If we do fear that there's not enough to support us and everyone else, we hold back the flow of abundance, deprive ourselves, and perpetuate that global consciousness of poverty. We're helping to sustain what we don't want. We're helping to sustain something that is not divine. It's like trying to hold up the darkness when the light just wants to come in, right? So, according to a 2022 analysis in an online business information website called rankred.com, there is about 1.3 quadrillion in US dollars in physical money that's in circulation worldwide, plus savings and checking accounts, investments, derivatives, and cryptocurrencies. The actual cash is a small portion of that these days, right? But with a world population slightly under 8 billion people, this translates to about $162,000 per person. Every man, woman, and child. So clearly, poverty is not a case of lack so much as it is a challenge of equitable distribution, right? Catherine Ponder, who's the author of the classic New Thought book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, first published in 1962, she said, basically, there was only one disease, congestion, and there was only one cure, circulation. Right? So when the flow is stopped, when it's dammed up, that's when it doesn't get to go everywhere. When we hold on, we think we have to hold on rather than keeping it in circulation, it becomes stagnant, and the flow is not available to circulate back and come back to us. How different would life be if we trusted that infinite invisible flow completely as our always abundant source? Scott Aubrey tells a story about a 10-year-old boy in the late 60s. And the Vietnam War was in full swing, and the boy's dad was deployed to fight in the war. It was hard on the man, on his wife, but it was even harder on their son. Right? He didn't understand why his dad had to leave. So a few weeks later, the mom was gathering up clothing to donate to orphanages in Vietnam. The mom thought it might help her son to feel a little more connected to his dad if he went through his things and made his own choices about what to send. So he quickly threw some clothes that he had outgrown into the box, and then he picked up his favorite jacket, a leather pilot's jacket, which he loved. It still fit him, and it was in great shape, except for a little tear on the left arm of the jacket, right? And even though he loved this jacket, he had the feeling that, maybe if there's another boy in this other country could enjoy it, then he would feel like somehow he was involved with what his dad was doing, right? So he threw it in the pile of clothes to donate. A few months later, the boy and his mom received a letter from his father. And the mom began reading excitedly. Dear sweethearts, we've been on patrol for many days in a row, but today I finally have a chance to write. Yesterday was the best day I have had since being here. We came upon a village that has an orphanage. And while we were there, several of the children of the town ran up to us. So we gave them what we had. We gave them some candy and pens, maybe some little trinkets. But there was one little boy there that reminded me of you. When I hugged him, it felt like I was hugging you, because he was just about your size, and he had a leather jacket on just like yours, and it had a tear in the left sleeve. So this 10-year-old boy, waiting for his dad to come back, gave something of himself purely for the sake of giving. And he ended up not only getting to hear how much it meant to another boy, but how it touched his father. Right? That's exciting, right, Rosalina? And so we have it's trusting in that flow. And when we don't block it off, we have an intuition that is in tune with that divine spirit and guidance. In the book Spiritual Economics, Eric Butterworth says, security is found not in things. You are not secure because of a bank account. You are not secure because of your investments or your possessions. Security can be experienced in one way only, by identifying yourself as a channel for the flow of infinite mind. And besides trusting the flow, our motivation is also important. Are we investing to make a killing and large profits, have that big account and, buy that next, the third biggest house, right? Or are we investing in a consciousness of the divine flow in companies, homes, college savings accounts, or a new business, or whatever investment we choose, right? Each investment is a channel for the divine to manifest, right? Our ultimate security is faith in the reliable continuity of the divine infinite supply of energy, ideas, money, and love that support us from within and from without. And as we bless and give gratitude for that divine flow, we find ourselves centered in God. So let's look at a practical application. The U.S. stock market has dropped about 18% year to date, right? So, it's a major drop like that can trigger concern. You look at your financial statement and you go, what's going on here, right? How do we react if we trust in our spiritual source, right? So Raymond Charles Barker is a wonderful New Thought minister. And he said in his book, Treat Yourself to Life, money is a spiritual activity. It is good. It is wonderful, and we should love it. It's not filthy lucre. It is not sinful. It is not the devil's playmate. It is God in action. The stock market is a financial barometer. I do not condemn it. I do not criticize it, nor do I bless it. I use it as an orderly part of my business world. He's saying it's a tool. I do not worry about the value of dollars because whether the values go up or down, I am convinced within myself that I am worth money, and I will always have it. I will always have it because the law of prosperity is based on the perpetual circulation of God's ideas in the infinite mind. Right? That's what doesn't change, is that infinite flow. It's always there. So with this level of trust, we know we are continuously immersed in the divine flow and that God never cuts us off because we're a part of God. It's like, would we cut off our foot? I don't think so. We're a part of God. Money becomes our friend. Money is a tool, not a goal. And we can see how money outpictures our self-worth. Right? If it's hard for you to see how valuable that you are, consider this. If the universe, God, didn't need you or want you, you wouldn't be here, right? You are a part of God that's being manifested. That's how God expresses itself. And the infinite oneness is taking the time and the energy and the thought and the love to be you, to be each one of you, right? So value yourself. The infinite invisible does. All of you, just as you are. And since money is the effect of how valuable you see yourself to be, it will respond. When you see yourself as valuable, then you will also have value, self-worth, and plenty of money. In the book Living the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes says, we should expect so much good that we should conceive of it as being more than we even have time to enjoy. We should feel the presence of this good, appreciate its meaning, and give thanks for its manifestation. In another Ernest Holmes book, Creative Mind and Success, he says, a person is just what they think themselves to be. They are big in capacity if they think big thoughts. They are small in capacity if they think small thoughts. They will attract to themselves what they think most about. So what we focus on makes all the difference, right? So when we think and worry about lack, we attract what? More lack in our lives, right? If we think big thoughts about prosperity and do what we love, then we attract more prosperity into our lives, right? Now, in the reading this morning by Marcia Sutton and Lloyd Strom, they talked about love and money. They are both two gifts of spirit that keep us in relationship with the other human beings in the world, right? And when we try to exist alone or isolate ourselves from people that are different from ourselves, love and money are the two connections that help us remember our oneness with God and with each other. We come from oneness, and so it's only, being separate is only an appearance that we see in the physical world. And so the love and money are the ties that keep us together. The ties of love inspire us to appreciate each other and to raise our consciousness. We all love to be in love, whether it's puppy love or just appreciating a wonderful puppy or being in romantic love or loving a beautiful sky and sunrise, right? These are all part of love. But if we shut down all these love connections and try to run away, those money ties with other people still keep us connected. They were still necessary to function and survive in the world, right? So these money ties draw us into relationships where we need to heal and where we can learn to love, where we can learn to be a full open channel for the divine, right? Ideally, we will form relationships that involve both love and money to prosper everyone, the highest and best for everyone involved. And this means that money and prosperity are compounded by loving the people you serve while you're doing what you do. So as an example, can you tell the difference between a typical restaurant where you have a meal, it's just any old meal in any old restaurant, and you go into a restaurant where the food has been prepared with love for the customers that are going to eat the meal? Love is an essential ingredient, right, that makes a restaurant great and prosper because the customers keep coming back year after year. They know that there's love in the food and in the conversation and in that place, right? I think that's one of the things we try to do as a spiritual center, is that when people walk in the door, they feel loved and welcome, right? So pulling all this together, if you want to experience prosperity in your life, begin by remembering that God is all there is, and that you are one with God, immersed in that divine, infinite flow of abundance, right? Money is sacred energy in circulation, a tool that is neither good nor bad. It's not evil nor something to be worshipped. We need not fear money. We need not hide it or flaunt it or avoid it. We need to learn to be present with both love and money simultaneously. And as we do, we can open up our consciousness to accept and experience that divine, abundant flow in every aspect of our lives. That is the natural spiritual truth of who we are as spiritual beings. Let's take this to prayer. So as we breathe in and breathe out, and breathe in and breathe out, we find ourselves moving in the flow of the universe. And it's a gentle flow, but steady. And we find ourselves supported at every place in our lives. And as we relax and let go, we find that flow is filling our whole being, every thought, every action, every word, every moment of every day, with a sense of being enough, of being loved, and of being loving. We find that everything that we are called to do, every action in this world of commerce that produces income in our lives, it is something that we do with love, not only for what we're doing, but for the service that it provides to others. And we gratefully receive the service that comes from others as they are acting for us and supporting us. It is a giving and receiving that it keeps that circulation going in a circle, and it allows itself to compound and express more and more of the divine, perfectly, beautifully, lovingly, with great abundance. This is the truth of how the universe works. And so as we trust and live in that flow, we find ourselves relaxing, and we allow ourselves to be part of lifting up the whole world, of lifting up all people to live together as one in harmony and in balance and abundance and joy, to live with plenty. And we allow and see that abundance shared everywhere throughout the world to touch every single individual. No one is left out because everyone is a part of the one. And we let go of anything within ourselves that would be blocking that flow. And we allow ourselves and listen and step up to take the step that would make that a reality for us and for all people, for our loved ones and the ones that we have trouble loving, and for the ones that we have yet to meet. It is all God and it is all good. And so I am grateful for the abundant flow that flows for this center, the Center for Spiritual Living, Tahoe-Truckee. And as it is supported, as it serves the world with love and spiritual teaching, spiritual practices, and a place to gather together, it is a creation of the divine. That divine flow is in the midst of this center as love and wisdom and peace and joy and abundance, for that is our divine nature. And I am so grateful to know this, to share it, and to be it right here and right now. And it is with gratitude that I let this word go, knowing that it is being manifest in even greater ways that we will soon discover and realize. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. And together we say, and so it is.